Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and also welcome to my bedroom. I'm Charlotte Delray, I'm an entertainer and the host of Inform Overload. Today we're gonna have a little bit of a chat. Story time, yay! Now this one is gonna serve as an inspiration to people who feel like they want more out of life. People who are chasing a dream but are also working a job to pay the bills. Let me tell you, I have been there. There were a lot of jobs, horrible jobs I might add, that I had to work in order to get somewhere else. Now I'm by no means done with my journey, but I can tell you that I'm very happy with where I am right now. But I did have humble beginnings, and the good thing about humble beginnings is it builds character. Okay, let's start things off with retail, okay? I had a lot of retail jobs. I've worked retail a few times in my life. I was always interested in fashion and I was pretty good at working retail. I worked at this one store that I won't name, but let me tell you, it was like a cult, okay? The store was a pretty big deal in Canada. It was pretty much like the most fashionable place that you could get your clothes if you lived here. But the thing about working there is it's like a very aggressive job because the employees have very big sales goals. If you don't make those sales goals or you're one of the employees that doesn't sell as much, then your hours would get cut and the precedence would go toward employees who sold more than you. So you needed to sell a lot in order to be able to get paid. It was a very high pressure job and I can't even tell you how many times I was like crying in the back room because I couldn't make my sales. And it was competitive as well. There's only so many customers and then a ton of employees, so it would get competitive and people would like steal your sales and stuff. It was intense. It was intense. But something that I learned from working in retail, and it's a very valuable skill, was how to talk to people. I had to talk to people in order to make my sales goals. So I learned how to talk to customers in such a way that you would earn their trust, or you would talk to them like a friend, or you wouldn't just treat them like a customer, you know, you made it feel like an experience. I would be personable, I would compliment them, and I've actually used those skills later in life, and those skills are very, very valuable, especially in a situation like where you're in an interview. So if you do work retail, I would use that as an opportunity to learn how to converse with people. And then there were the tanning salons. At the end of high school, I got a job at a local tanning salon. And I was addicted to tanning, okay? Like I was orange. So my hair was orange, my face was orange. It was not a good look. It was not the most glamorous job. And there was even this one time where a customer pooped in a tanning bed. Who poops in a tanning bed? I was working really late one night and there was one or maybe two customers left. Once you send people into the bed, they have like 5 minutes to get undressed and like, or put their bathing suit on, put their tanning lotion on, and then get into the bed before it starts. There's a timer on it. So there's not a lot of time to go to the bathroom. You have to tell me you want to go to the bathroom, and then once I get the go ahead, then I put your tanning bed on, or you set the timer on. So last tan of the night, I send this girl into her bed. She does her tan, she leaves. I was doing my cash out and then I go into the bed with the solution to clean it like I do all the time, especially at the end of the night. You have to make sure everything is disinfected and clean because there's like sweat and shit in those tanning beds. It's gross. I go to spray things down and I open the door and I just get this overwhelming smell of crap. And I look down at the bed and there's like a literal turd on the bed, and it's lying like horizontally and the bed is like that. It wasn't vertically, so she literally shat in the bed while she was lying in it. I didn't know what to do. There was no way that I was gonna pick up a piece of poo, sorry. So I call my manager and my manager comes down to the salon and she takes a look and she's like, oh my God, like what the actual fuck? So we end up calling the customer to tell her that she's banned, and the customer just like completely denied that she did anything. We couldn't even end up banning her. Like I literally assigned a bed by name. There was no other way. Nobody came into the salon after you left and like took a crap in the tanning bed and left. But that would be funny. So next job, when I was in university, I decided to take up photography. I got pretty good at it. I took a ton of courses on it and I practiced like crazy. I went around and I took photos of people for free just because I really enjoyed it. I also took my camera to shows, electronic shows, and I would take photos of the DJs and the people there. And the DJs and the promoters for those shows liked the photos and they kept asking me to come back. After a while, I was practicing a lot and I got extremely good at it. I bought new equipment, a better camera, better lenses, a flash, and people knew me, so they decided to reach out to me to book me. Shout out to my friend Angeli, who was the first person who ever paid me for my photography work. Thank you, boo. There was one point where I really wanted to be the photographer of Shambhala Music Festival. If you don't know what that is, let's just say it's one of the coolest music festivals on earth. It's kind of like Burning Man, but it's in the forest rather than in the desert. It's Skrillex's favorite festival, and he's said that many times. The previous year, I had gone to the festival just as like a patron, and I saw this photographer on stage taking photos of Bass Nectar, and he looked so cool, and I literally vowed, I was like, that is gonna be me next year. And then the next year, they were holding submissions to join the first ever media team for Shambhala Music Festival. I had built up like a big enough portfolio by that point, and I just submitted my best work and I ended up making the team. And that was something that I did for 5 years. I met so many awesome people. I took photos of some of the biggest electronic acts in the world. I took photos of Tiesto, of Girl Talk, Chaos, Bassnectar, pretty much every electronic act that was really, really big in the mid 2000s. The problem with photography is I kept encountering people who didn't want to pay me. Everybody wanted the photos, but nobody felt that they wanted to pay me for it. Or when they would ask me how much I wanted to be paid, it was always too much, even though I was already charging like the bare minimum that I could charge without literally going starving. Equipment is expensive, and it's also very hard on your body to be a photographer. There was this one point during the festival one year where I was so tired after 4 straight days of shooting and carrying around my big backpack and my huge camera. I was so exhausted, and I put my camera down on this pile, and it was really dark, so I couldn't really tell what was going on. And my friend Leah, who's also a photographer, taps me and she goes, "Charlotte, you just put your camera down in a pile of garbage." And I look down and I'm like, there is like literally like my $3,000 camera is in a pile of trash. So that was funny. We still laugh about that. One of my arms was actually way more jacked than the other because this was the arm that held my camera. So this one had like a big muscle and this one didn't. But it was super fun being a photographer. It was a lot more fun than working retail for me. I had so many cool opportunities. I met so many cool people. There was one point where one of my teachers at New York Film Academy brought me in to take photos of an off-Broadway play called The Other Mozart. And I had no idea at the time, but those photos were gonna end up being published in the New York Times. And I will put up a screenshot for you now. I still have the printed version of it. I ran around Harlem when I lived in New York, and I was just like running, like looking at every bodega. I'm like, do you have the New York Times? Do you have the New York Times? And I finally found it, and I've kept it ever since, and it's framed and it's at my parents' house. All right, fast forward. When I moved to Toronto, I came here pretty much on a whim. I had no job prospects. I had an agent that was, you know, just starting out in the industry. No one had really ever heard of her. So I had to work some pretty terrible jobs. I got a job as a resident photographer for an app that was basically like Uber Eats, but for hair salons. So I would run around the GTA, which if you don't know is literally humongous. I would go around the GTA and I would take photos of these hair salons and also the staff so that people could like book the employee that they wanted and they could see what the salon looked like. It was not a bad idea for an app, but because it was just starting, they didn't have enough money to pay me. And I was paid $1,500 a month to do this, which doesn't even cover rent in Toronto. That is literally not enough. So I also had to work retail on top of that. I was paid $1,500 a month to travel around the Greater Toronto area on buses, carrying around my huge photography bag, sometimes in 40-degree heat, and I would be going to these really sketchy areas all the time, and I had like so much expensive equipment on me. And if you're on the East Coast, if you've ever been to the East Coast, you know about the humidity, and like I had to do this job in that humidity. And there was one point where I almost fainted from exhaustion after I got off the bus once. And that was the moment where I just decided that I was never going to do photography for less than $150 an hour. And yeah, that's expensive, but it's actually really not in the grand scheme of things when it comes to photography. If it meant that I was gonna have less work and I wasn't gonna do it as often, then it didn't really matter because I didn't really want to put my body and my health in jeopardy over a job that never paid me. It was literally bad for my health at that point. But you know, it wasn't like a total downside. I still love photography. I still love taking pictures, and my knowledge of photography and lighting and cameras actually helped me be able to know how to light, for example, a YouTube video. All right, now moving on to the climax of this video, okay? I quit that photography job and I was forced to get another job because my parents were at this point kind of fed up with me. They really wanted me to come back and live with them, and I had no job prospects, so I was forced to get something, just something. It was getting to the point in my life where it's like, I don't want my parents to support me or feel like they have to support me, and they really couldn't support me anymore. So it was like, okay, I have to get a job. I ended up finding a job with this company that was an online casino, and they hired models to be the card dealers. We played blackjack, poker, roulette. So the card dealers would film in a studio and the players would play online. You couldn't see them, but we were being filmed and the studio looked like it was like a casino floor. There were 2 tiers of models or dealers. The second tier, which is what I was a part of, wore classy black dresses and red lipstick. And the first tier, who got paid more, would wear Playboy bunny costumes. Yes, I worked for a company that was affiliated with Playboy. The girls who wore the Playboy bunny costumes ended up getting paid a lot more money because the customers wanted to see them more. Understandable. They asked me a number of times if I wanted to do it, and they made it seem like this really, really great opportunity, and I couldn't do it. There's no way that I could do it. I have a career in entertainment, and I had planned to have a career in entertainment, and I didn't want any anything on the internet that could be compromising to that career, like footage or photos of me in a Playboy bunny costume. So I mostly just kept to myself. I would read, I would study my lines for auditions, but they kept pushing and pushing for me to wear this costume because the customers wanted the Playboy bunnies over the other models. A lot of girls didn't show up a lot of the time. The shifts were really terrible. There was like a 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. shift, a 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. shift, and then 5 a.m. until 12 p.m. It was really hard to get up in the middle of the night and go to work, and you also didn't get paid more in order to work in the middle of the night. You got the same rate as everybody else, and they would make you work those shifts sometimes. So yeah, a lot of people didn't show up, and a lot of people got fired, a lot of people quit. After a few months, the company was in trouble because so many girls didn't want to work anymore, and I was still working there. So I got this email from my manager who basically said that if I didn't want to wear the Playboy bunny costumes, then they wouldn't give me any more shifts. And I was just like, dude, that is like illegal. You can't make me wear a Playboy bunny costume if I don't want to wear it. And that was it. Like, they just didn't give me any more shifts, and that was it. And then I actually heard from my former friends who worked there that the company ended up getting shut down. So that happened there. That was pretty much my lowest point. But you know what they say about lowest points? You gotta hit rock bottom in order to get somewhere. And that right there was my rock bottom. So I got let go, or I quit right before Christmas one year, and my parents were really upset with me because they were worried about the fact that maybe they were gonna have to support me or something, and I was really upset because it was literally like I had so many jobs in Toronto that were dead ends at that point. But I didn't give up. I said to them, and I remember this conversation, they were picking me up from the airport. I said with so much certainty that the next job that I was gonna get was gonna be the job that changed my life. They basically told me I had one more chance to find an opportunity, otherwise I'm gonna have to move back to where they live, where there's virtually no acting opportunities whatsoever. I was determined that I was gonna make it. I was determined I was gonna make something of myself, and I wasn't gonna give up. I am very stubborn, but my stubbornness actually helped me in the end, because I mean, if I wasn't so stubborn, then I probably would have given up. It took a couple of months of looking, but I found this audition on Kijiji, actually. I responded to it, went to the audition, ended up getting a call back, and then like didn't hear anything. And I kept bugging the manager, like I kept sending him emails, I called him, and then he liked my persistence, so he ended up giving me the job. The job allowed me to go to auditions. It meant that I was gonna be on camera every day. My writing skills were gonna get better because I was literally doing it every single day. And that job is Inform Overload. And 5 years later, I am very happy with where I am. Inform Overload has become like my saving grace, the thing that saved me from total failure. I've watched the channel go from literally we don't even know if the channel is gonna make it to being extremely successful. And I have my boss Landon to thank for that. He believed in me and he pushed me, and we got it to a place where we are both very, very happy. And it's one of the best channels in our company. And looking back, if you had told that girl on the bus in 40-degree heat carrying her photography equipment, literally feeling like she's gonna die from exhaustion, if you had told that girl that she was gonna be part of one of the most successful YouTube indie news channels in the world, there was no way that I would have believed you. Like, there's no way. This opportunity just kind of came out of nowhere, and I just sort of went with it, and it ended up working out better than I ever could have imagined. So I want to wrap up this video by saying, if you're at a point in your life where you feel like you're not going anywhere, you feel like you have dreams, but you don't know how to get there, know that I have been there too. I've struggled so hard. I've lived in the worst places, in the tiniest rooms. I've cried hysterically and uprooted my entire life in order to pursue this thing, this career that I have in the back of my mind that I know that I'm gonna do. But the thing that really worked for me was persistence. Refusing to give up, refusing to take no for an answer, refusing to let one failure define me. You never know how one opportunity is gonna lead to another one. The most important thing is that you put yourself out there and you put in the work. Get so good that they can't ignore you and kick the doors in that get slammed in your face. I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean. I don't want to get any, oh, well, you know, Charlotte said to kick a door in and you slammed a door in my face. No, don't do that. But metaphorically, kick the doors in. If I can do it, you can too. I hope this video has made you realize that everyone has to start somewhere, and it's okay to make an honest living until you get to where you're going. Anyways, guys, that's it for my story. My throat really hurts, so I'm gonna drink some water. Subscribe!